Hello, and welcome to She Comes Bi, a podcast where I interrogate my friends on bisexuality. I'm your host, Alex Mannix. In this episode, I interview a new friend, Val Reich, licensed marriage and family therapist and certified couples and sex therapist. In this episode, we're trying a few things out. Experimenting, if you will. Not least of all, we have recorded and filmed our conversation with Val at Village Well Books and Coffee in Culver City. So, if you'd like to enhance your podcast experience and enjoy the special effects stylings of our producer, Josh Strutton Carlson, you can head over to YouTube and search She Comes Bi to check out this week's episode. However you listen, I hope you'll come by and join us. Val.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for coming by. So I ask guests to introduce themselves on the show.
Okay.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Val. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also a professor at Pepperdine and a therapist at the Friendly House. I am bisexual, always have been, always will be. And I'm a Pisces. I don't know. What else do I introduce myself with? I have a cat. Her name is Jupiter. I love her.
That was perfect. That was great. You are a family and marriage therapist? Is that
marriage
right?
and family therapist. So I work with families, I work with teens, and I work with couples. Predominantly, I work with couples and women and non-binary people who are getting sober.
How did you find yourself in that work?
I was working in music and then life started lifing and I ended up just going back to school to become a therapist. And really resonated with recovery. I love recovery work. And I was already working in rock and roll. So, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Became a sex therapist along the way too. And here I am. I think that I've always been a person who just really follows what the pings are. And I just followed the pings to where I am today.
Wow. I love that. Well, I definitely want to hear more about recovery and maybe even some of your therapy journey.
For sure.
But can you talk a little bit about the difference between family and marriage therapist and a sex therapist? Is there overlap?
Yeah.
Are they distinct? Kind of what are the differences?
So there's a couple different kinds of licenses that you can get in the state of California. And the license that I got is a licensed marriage and family therapist. It allows me to work with families and with couples and with kids. And I've to work with all different types of people. As a sex therapist, that's my specialty and my certification. So I took extra education to get certified through a program called ACAST as a sex and couples therapist. And that gave me a lot more education on working with the LGBTQIA2 Spirit Plus community, working with, different family structures, different relational structures, and then, of course, the fundamentals of sex and biology and, how those things shift when you, for example, transition or when you go through a hormonal shift or when you start menopause and all the different ways that the body responds to, sex biologically and emotionally and relationally.
Yeah.
I think predominantly as a sex therapist, I mostly work with couples who are going through, various relational issues. That can be, issues related to individual sexual orientation within the relationship, opening up different relational dynamics, and just, regular old couples issues, infidelity, anger, disinterest, lack of sex. Never too much sex, but.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a sex therapist as well? Or was that something you came to in your studies that you found you were interested in?
Honestly, so I'm a very spiritual person and I think I don't even remember, but I'm pretty sure I had a dream and I just had a dream that I was a sex therapist. And then I woke up and Googled programs and that was it. Most of the big decisions that I've made in my life, I've thought about them and then just done it. I don't really leave a lot of time waiting to perseverate over things.
That's great. And I relate. I think some of the biggest decisions I've made in my life, I haven't agonized over. I've kind of just made a decision and gone with it. And
that could be the best. That could be awesome.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, get that tattoo lasered off. I don't know. Pull up Pete Davidson. I don't know.
So this is a podcast about bisexuality.
Yeah.
So are you bisexual? Why or why not?
I love that question. That's so funny. Why or why not? I would consider myself bisexual, but I consider myself to be, maybe apply to a couple different labels. I don't know. I don't feel the need to really choose one and hold it so close. Maybe that's a piece of my privilege that I've had. But bisexuality to me is an openness of sexuality. I find myself physically attracted to people of all different types of gender representations. And I find myself really into people and cool people who are interesting and teach me things and have different, views of the world than I do, and who are compassionate and safe and kind people. For me, that's what bisexuality is. I feel like it's been the same my whole life, and I've never really had to come out and make a big statement around it, which is a unique experience, and I'm very grateful for that. And my family's pretty chill. Like, we be easy going in the 818.
Wow. Where's the 818? I'm ignorant.
Oh, sorry. Tarzana, California.
Okay. Lovely.
91356.
Yeah. You've just like always been comfortable. It's never been a big deal for you to kind of come out. Does your sexuality and how you identify like come into play with your work, whether it be through your private practice or even in your teaching?
Well, I do teach human sexuality and gender stuff at Pepperdine, which I think having a queer professor teach that course is helpful for explaining the nuances of the queer community. And in being really plugged into the queer community, I really plugged in, in my own way in LA. I feel like it gives a little bit of a more maybe current holistic perspective on, how we as therapists can treat our clients. Like I have a bit more maybe nuanced understanding than maybe a different professor. In my private practice, I think it's just, I'm a personable therapist, I'm a humanist, and I do bring some of myself into the room. That being said, I don't think my sexual orientation really has an influence on my work. I meet my clients where they're at, for who they're at. I work with people of all different types of sexual orientation, different gender expressions, different faiths, religions, creeds. I've had people who are, very, very conservative Republicans, and I've had people who are like the most liberal, so-and-so. So no, I don't think it matters. But I think it's cool when I work with the kids. Can I tell a quick story?
Please do.
So when I first started working with the kids, I was also myself, learning how to dress like an appropriate adult. And I wore ripped jeans, Converse, and like this huge flannel and a band shirt to work. I was like, cool, this is like a fit. This is why I became a therapist, to wear comfy clothes. Anyways, I walk in and all these kids like come up to me and they're whispering. They're like, you know what, Val, you look like a lesbian version of our dad. And I was like, roasted by 14-year-olds day one.
But also kind of a compliment.
I know. I was like, purr, queen. I got it. Yeah.
I don't know what my dressing says about me anymore. I fully just...
Well, we both wear Big Bud Press.
Besides Big
Quiet
Bud Press...
plug, give me gear.
Oh, please.
Where's
if
my
Big
PR
Bud
bag?
Press wants to sponsor my podcast, I would be more than happy to do as much as you want me to do.
Let's DM them.
Well, so you said you never really had to come out. Do you remember a time, or do you remember when you realized you weren't straight, or was it always just kind of...
It was an always thing. As a little kid, I was just curious and open, free. My parents were very accepting and loving of, do what you want to do, be who you want to be.
Yeah.
I got lucky in that way. I do think of it as a point of privilege, and I do think of it as something that I'm really grateful for. And I really hope that it's the trend, and that's the way the world goes, that, you don't have to come out unless you want to. Straight people don't come out.
They don't. They should.
Maybe if I have a kid, he'll be like, are you straight? Go tell your dad or your mom.
My toxic trait is that I think everyone is bisexual.
Everybody is bisexual.
Okay. Can you say more?
That's actually totally false. I shouldn't say that as a sex therapist. Not everybody's bisexual. But just to be toxic with you.
Thank you. I appreciate the commiseration, but
yes. Some people are very much so straight. And great for them. Happy for you.
And I think that's the thing. When I'm joking, I say I think everyone's bisexual. I think the truth of it is I've never been monosexual. So I think I have a hard time putting myself in the position of someone who is. Yeah. And I can understand it, but I think there is a part of it that, not the stereotype that like bisexual people or pansexual people are attracted to everyone. I'm not attracted to everyone. There are definitely people I'm not attracted to.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so not the stereotype that bisexual people or pansexual people are attracted to everybody. That's certainly not the case. But I kind of don't know what it's like to not be attracted to someone because of a gender. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not the defining characteristic for me. But I do have characteristics that are defining, right? Like, if we go to dinner and you're rude to a waiter, I'm like, no. Maybe that's how it feels like for gender.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just because I'm not in that brain doesn't mean that I can't understand.
I've never thought of it that way.
Empathy.
That's such a good point.
I hope that you edit that with some pizzazz.
Josh, get that in there with the visuals. Thanks.
We love Josh, and that can be like the rainbow.
So you talked about being a spiritual person.
Yes, love spirituality.
Were you always a spiritual person? Did you find your own way to it? What happened there?
Yeah, I've had a very interesting journey with spirituality. I come from a Jewish family, but I did not know until much later in life if my parents believed in God or not. And somewhere along the line became we'll say kind of like modern Orthodox, higher conservative level Jew on my own, keeping kosher when my family didn't. That was a weird era, but I get really into stuff. I always tell people, like, keep me away from the cults, keep me away. Like, I can't get too into stuff because I will go in. I've chilled out a little bit now in my adulthood, and then in transitioning into high school, really started reading tarot, started getting into astrology, and that developed more and more as I went through my college experience and coming back to Judaism a little bit more traditionally in my mid to late 20s through more of a Kabbalah lens and just really kind of studying it from that perspective. And still very much so don't follow any kind of organized religion in a traditional sense, but I have a very deep connection with higher power, spirit, and I read tarot and I read astrology and I do Shabbat and I do all the holidays and I really create my own faith. So yeah, I have a really intense, and by intense, I mean beautifully, very present, very active, very engaged spiritual world.
Yeah. I mean, I relate to that a lot. Similarly, you mentioned recovery. I'm also in recovery. And that connection with a higher power, with spirit, and kind of creating your own relationship with it. I really relate to. There's something that feels also a little bit queer about it, about kind of getting to exist outside of certain systems, but know that, in the same way that, queer people have always been here, we have so many elders, there's so many things that we can pull from in like queer culture that can help us feel rooted. Same way, there's things in spirituality like that have maybe been on the margins of the more traditional religions sometimes, but things we can still draw from.
Oh, I exist in the margins, man. Shout out Al-Anon for giving me perspective. Love it. But yeah, I exist in the margins, like queerdom, recovery, rock and roll, sex therapy, like the taboos. Like I find myself very comfortable in the places where people are the realist. And this seems to be the fringe. I love the honesty. Maybe it's the ADHD. I get confused otherwise. I don't know.
something to focus on, something to give stimulation.
And authenticity, I think, at the end of the day. I think maybe something that I really appreciate about bisexuality in general is there is a certain authenticity in coming out and saying, like, I am bisexual, right? Because a lot of people like to erase it. So it is really taking of oneself.
Yeah.
And I know that I say that I could fall under different labels, and I do think that is true, but
yeah. What words do you use to describe yourself?
Queer, most commonly. Bi. I don't really use pan, only because every time it makes me a little hungry. I think of bread, like a pan de leche.
Ooh, yum.
Sounds so good.
Has there ever been a time where, because you mentioned like kind of like bisexual erasure, like have you felt that, or how do you notice that happening?
I think it's mostly, I see it more from an academic sense. In academia, in film, there's no research on bisexuality, right? There's a lot of research on gay couples and lesbian couples. There's not a ton of research on pansexual people, demisexual people. And like, that's where I really see it. And I find it distressing. I also find it irritating in media. Like, I want to see more bi media. I do want to see more lesbian content. Yes. I want to see more, trans, non-binary content. Yes. But I also want to see more bi content.
Do you have bi content that you really enjoy?
I don't think there's a ton. I was thinking about it before, but like my favorite bisexual podcast is Yenta, featuring Ray Schiller and Antonia Lasser. That's a really good podcast. Love it. And then there's like Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I love her as a bisexual character. But I don't have a ton, I do love But I'm a Cheerleader.
Yeah. Do you have a character that you identify with in that movie?
I'm not like any of those characters. No, I'm definitely not. Like Natasha's got the hair. Like I know when she doesn't straighten her hair, we got the vibe. But like, no, I'm a little femme. I got my like nails.
Yeah, I love Natasha Lyonne. Yeah. I love Russian Doll.
Oh, so good.
I don't know if her character like is like officially bi in that show, but she gives so much bisexual energy.
She really
Even
does.
though she's mostly sleeping with men in that show.
But that doesn't erase the bisexuality.
Exactly.
Like if you're seeing a male presenting partner, that's where the bi erasure exists. But I also don't give a am I allowed to
You're
swear?
allowed to curse, yes.
Oh my God.
Fuck yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about like what like Sue and Carol walking down the street. Like I don't care if they know or think I'm bisexual. It just doesn't move my emotional roster at all.
Yeah. And yeah, it why should it,
Yeah. Yeah. Because my safety's not threatened by that, and that's privilege.
Totally. Yeah, it's a good point. What role does sexuality play in your life?
Well, I date a lot.
Okay.
I love dating.
Yeah.
And I talk about sex a lot. So when I'm thinking about, and I talk about relationships all the time, because even with my individual clients, I'm talking about relationships, and with students, someone's always reaching out for some support, and I love that. But it comes in that way because I think about the fluid nature of sexuality. And maybe that's not so much thinking about my own sexuality, but I think about sexuality a lot. And I think about the different ways that we're driven to connect with people. And what is sexuality? What is creative desire? What is friendship? What is being enamored? What is limerence? Like there's all these different things that are outside or maybe come under in a bit more specificity of sexuality, sensuality, connection, dating, romance. So I think about it in those terms. Like when you're talking to me, it's like, who are they connecting with? Like, who are their interests? Like, how do they relate to if you were like a client, how do they relate to these people? In what ways are they relating to these people? What are their patterns? What are their unconscious biases here? How does your sexuality, my sexuality inform the way that we walk through the world?
That's beautiful.
Because it does a lot. Because everybody be trying to fuck all the time. Primal drive, right? Or not all people, actually. I take that back because there is a very strong ace community.
Yeah.
And we love them.
What are the different... I actually just had a conversation with my therapist that attraction is not the same as desire. So, yeah, can you talk a little bit more about those like different types of connections? Like what are the different ways that people can connect and how that, relates to sexuality, but might not necessarily be what we think of in the zeitgeist as sexual?
What a nuanced question, right? I think we would have to start with what is attraction versus desire. Is attraction inherently sexual? Is desire inherently sexual? And what is it to be in that? What would be inherently sexual? I think when I think of it, you can be attracted to something without desiring it for yourself, right? You can have a reverence for something in a sense without wanting to almost take it into you. And that can come in different levels per the relationship, right? Because for, let's say, friendship, right? You can have a friend who you find very attractive on paper, but you could not desire them to be your partner or to be in your bed with you. You could just not. Maybe that's because they kind of smell bad. Maybe that's because they are not great with waiters, but they're really good looking. Like, so there could be that.
Yeah. It reminds me of the thing too, of the very queer, like, do I want to be you or do I want to do you? And like,
what a queer dynamic.
and the intersection of desiring something because you want to inhabit, like because you want it for yourself or like to embody it yourself. Like in my dating history, I feel like I've dated a lot of people who, when I look back, I'm like, oh, I just wanted what they had.
Yeah.
Like whether that be a job or a social circle or I don't know, even just like a style. And part of my recovery and part of my, I think just like growing up has been realizing, oh, I can want those things and have them for myself and not need to get it vicariously through a partner.
Yeah. And being able to, I love that you bring recovery into that because it's just like a loving like examination of my character defects, right? It just puts me in my fourth step, and that's the work that I'm doing now. And I think it's really interesting to look at sexuality as a part of that, right? And I love that you bring up the, do I want to be you or do I want to do you?
And sometimes it can be both.
And sometimes it can be both because relationships are how we grow. And it's okay to grow in community. It's okay to want people to support you and to grow, you know, amongst others because, you know, forced individualism is a product of capitalism. Collectivism isn't the devil. It's actually quite helpful and quite needed for humans. So sexuality is inherently political, so it always goes there.
And also I think, you know, in this time of political unrest and turmoil, the places where I feel the most safe and the most fulfilled and like I'm doing the most good is in my mutual aid groups, is in group therapy, is in when I'm in community with people that we are trying to heal ourselves
In community.
And then also use some of that energy of like seeing like, hey, like things are on fire. Unfortunately, quite literally in Los Angeles, what do we do? What do we do with this collective energy that we have? I also like being part of my union is like giving me drive right now. And like, I take solace in it because it's like, it's very serenity prayer, right? It's like, what can I control? What is not in my power? And how can I tell the difference? And like the mutual aid stuff, the union stuff, the recovery stuff is the stuff that I can do on a daily basis.
Yeah, those are your practices.
Do you have, what's keeping you sane right now?
I'm on day, I think it's 90 of daily meditation.
90 days.
Yeah, 90 days.
It's a magic,
I know. We love a 90 day. I had like almost 6 years of daily meditation and I broke it because it was becoming like too competitive. And that was a couple years ago, but I'm back on it. So I'm on day 90
Break
of that.
that perfectionism. We don't need it.
No, throw it away. Perfection is an illusion.
Progress, not perfection.
Yeah. And then I do a lot of mobility work. I make time for the people that I care about. I spend a lot of time with like my social group and, you know, people in my community, and I work and I find energy in my work, getting to teach, you know, the next generation of therapists, getting to work with all my clients. I love all my clients. They're amazing people. And it's really incredible to get to sit with them on their journey, you know, not the other way around. So
yeah. Is there a certain piece of advice that you find yourself giving very often to the therapist that you're teaching? Like if you could speak to the next generation of therapists that will be listening to this podcast, what would you say?
For the therapists, I say, love your clients, be the container. You're not there to fix them. We're not there to fix people. We're there to accept them for who they are. You know, point out dissonance and incongruencies between their values, their desires, and their, you know, behaviors. But they're not broken. Nobody's broken. People aren't toys. They can't be. So we're there just to love and provide that container. And then for people, the biggest piece of advice I can give is grace and compassion for self and forgiveness with boundaries. I think those two things are really important. Grace and compassion for yourself will allow you to have grace and compassion for others, which will, you know, make your relationship with yourself, of course, better, and the relationships you have with others better. Relationships being our crux. And forgiveness with boundaries is allowing people to make mistakes and be imperfect, as we are all imperfect, and I need a lot of grace from other people, but boundaries keep us safe. And they keep us safe and they let other people know where they stand with us. And eat more donuts. Everybody should eat more donuts.
Always eat more donuts. Do you have any advice? Because setting boundaries is something that I think is really difficult, but I wonder if you have advice for how to set good boundaries and how to accept boundaries when one is set.
I do. So either in giving boundaries or receiving boundaries, the first thing I think people should do is attune to their nervous system, because it's a very scary experience being direct with someone, and not only being direct, but asking for what you want and need. It's not just a want when we're setting a boundary. It's a need, truly. That can be really hard for people to do. So attuning to that nervous system, some practical skills that can help people with that are TIPP, TIPP, that's a DBT skill, using temperature. There's weighted blankets. I think there's also little like prickly balls that you can like roll around, or a nice ring to use while you're kind of giving the speech. I think it's really helpful for people to write out what they want to say first. There's a skill in DBT called Dear Man that is really effective for that. And I love using that outline, describing, expressing, asserting, and reinforcing why and what you need, and then maintaining your confidence and being ready to negotiate and being mindful about what's going on in your body through the experience. In receiving boundaries, it's all keeping the nervous system regulated, and remember that the person cares enough about you and the relationship with you to set the boundary. Because we only set boundaries with people that we care to keep around. If I don't like you, if I'm like, fuck off, I'm just blocking your ass, I'm not doing the work to come to you with this scary thing. So remembering at the end of the day that the people who love you are on your team. You don't have to have the dukes up. And having the grace and compassion for self to understand that we get there honestly, right? In our defensiveness, most of us, we come by that for a reason. And so having that compassion for self, but also for the people who we're engaging in this dyadic, boundaried relationship with. Because I know if I come to you saying, hey, Alex, I'd really appreciate it if you don't steal my Diet Cokes anymore. I got to know that that's nerve-wracking for me, and it's nerve-wracking for you to hear that. And maybe we can have co-compassion in that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I 100% agree with grace and compassion, and that it's hard, and offering yourself that grace allows you to offer it to others.
Yeah. And I will say, if someone continues to violate your boundaries, that lets you know where they stand with you. Block that motherfucker. Hold your boundaries. If someone disrespects your boundaries, you have a right to walk away, and that's okay. The end of a relationship doesn't mean it failed.
Yeah, they call it the gift of no contact for a reason.
Yeah, they do. That's very program.
Val, this has been so lovely.
Oh my God, this is so fun. I hope you have me on again selfishly.
Oh I would love to have you on again, but we're not quite done yet. We here at She Comes Bi have a very fun game. This game is called Gay Straight Bi. I'm going to give you 3 things, and you have to tell me which of them is gay, which of them is straight, and which of them is bi.
Beautiful. I got it. Let's go.
Okay, great. So your 3 things are EMDR, CBT, and DBT.
Okay, well, CBT is straight as fuck. Get that out of the way.
Can you explain what CBT is?
Yes, CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. It looks at the relationships between our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors, knowing that if we break one of those in the triangle, we can probably have some access and flexibility to the other 2. Insurance companies love it. I used a lot of CBT. It's really good for anxiety, for giving people like hard skills, but it's very straight-laced, so.
Gotcha.
She's straight. DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. Girl, I'm going to go with she's bisexual, because DBT be for everybody. DBT, shout out Marsha Linehan. We love you, girl. She created dialectical behavioral therapy to really help with people who are in high crisis. It's traditionally for people with, borderline personality disorder, high suicidality, or maybe chronic self-harmers. But honestly, who ain't traumatized by the world around us? I find DBT is for everyone, and I love DBT. I be using DBT skills all the time, which means EMDR, eye movement desensitization, re-imaging, something like that. I don't remember what the acronym stands for off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Because I'm not certified in it and I don't practice it. It is a very intense certification. And if anybody wants a referral, they can, DM me to ask for them. Got great EMDR.
I love that. Would you, so since you're not certified, we can play again with maybe another.
Sex therapy, gay.
Sex therapy, gay. Okay. We
gay,
love it.
but for everybody. But also very gay. Sex therapy is actually for everybody. I see a lot of straight couples. And couples therapy. It's sex and couples therapy. We don't have to talk about your sex life to be in couples therapy, but it probably will come up because you're a couple.
We love it. Well, again, this is a very serious game, and the distinctions mean a lot, and there are consequences to your answers. So I'm glad that
what's my consequence?
There aren't. I was
excited. It's like, what happens?
We'll see what happens off camera.
Oh, okay.
Nothing will happen off camera. Val,
yes.
Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for having me. She came by it honestly.
Oh my gosh.
I wanted to make sure that made it in.
It's so good. Do you have anything you want to plug? Where can people find you?
So I'm pretty reachable. You can Google my name. My last name is Reich, Valerie Rich. My Instagram is Valerie Rich MFT. I've got a Psychology Today. I've got a website. And if people need resources, I'm reachable.
Wonderful. Well, before you go, do you have a piece of bi media, bi content, or a bicon that you would like to shout out?
Yenta Podcast with Ray Schiller and Antonia Lasser.
Thanks for coming by.
Bye.
All right. Welcome to Josh Comes Bi, your favorite segment where my producer, Josh, fellow bisexual, comes by to talk. Hi, Josh. How's it going?
Hey, man.
How you doing?
This is against my better judgment, but Alex's condition of filming the podcast was that I would have my own segment. Mm-hmm. How can I elevate this experience for you, Alex?
Well, yeah, I think we need a male perspective on She Comes Bi. And
yeah, I really think those male voices out there are really, not getting enough representation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Josh, I want to ask you, what was your favorite part of the podcast?
I really liked that part where Val drank her drink directly into the microphone and ruined my life. Stop. Yeah, I was kind of lost in Val's eyes.
Me too. Yeah, oh my God.
On a serious note, I do think when you guys were talking about bi erasure, I think I noticed a lot of it is like around whether people think people are honest when they come out. I think the experience is very gendered. Like, I think most people think that bi women are straight secretly and like bi men are secretly gay. I think media portrays bi people as uber horny and kind of slutty and like sleeping around. Yeah, I would love to see that change.
Just because someone's bisexual doesn't mean they're a horny slut.
And just because someone's a horny slut doesn't mean they're bisexual.
Absolutely.
I've always said that.
It's such a common phrase. Okay.
Guys, this is a bit. Alex is one of my good friends, but I'm trying to be curmudgeonly for Josh Comes Bi.
No. Yeah, I think that's a fun dynamic for us to have.
I think we should keep this in where we're discussing the segment. Val's a terrible engineer. She keeps fucking talking.
Yes, Josh, I release you back to your producer chair.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming by.
Of course. I'm back to the studio.
She Comes Bi is part of the Industry Plant Podcast Network. It's hosted by me, Alex Mannix, and edited and executive produced by Josh Stretton Carlson. If you're interested in more bisexual content, check out the She Comes Bi weekly newsletter at shecomesbiweekly.substack.com. That's shecomesbiweekly.substack.com.